Mentality, strength, motive? Or what about all the above? That's what I believe makes Diavolo interesting. He's powerful, he has a motive to take the arrow at all costs, and is mentally unstable in a way. Hi, I'm Talks. Let's talk about Diavolo and how this interesting character concept impressed the audiences around the world. Diavolo was incredibly good as a concept, and is something I'd love to talk about. He wanted to keep his identity hidden to the utmost degree, so not only would he kill those who would try to learn his identity in gruesome ways, but those who would encounter him would only see his stand and not him. They'd have a small chance of living to talk about what they witnessed and what they encountered, but not only that, you'd also have to get past his other personality to get through to see his actual personality, Diavolo. This other personality is used creatively, at least. They work together in pretty decent ways. They contact each other through a phone, and obviously they can't talk via phone when they are literally the same guy. But what happens is, it's an act. This personality picks up the phone and Diavolo talks to him through his mind. Specifically in the Colosseum, when he looks into the eyes of Bruno and Diavolo speaks, telling him that a man is hiding among the shadows, watching, waiting for Diavolo to appear. Everything complements each other. Even King Crimson complements Diavolo in that manner as well, with two faces. And along with this creativity when it comes to his mental state, Diavolo also has a unique ability compared to everyone else. Yes, it deals with time, but I feel it's handled differently compared to the likes of Dio or Kira. Dio simply stopped time, and Kira basically reset it. But Diavolo skips time, which not only is something that I can't even recall another series using, but how it works is, say you're fighting Diavolo, and you attack. He activates his ability. In this, you still attack, but the attack will probably not land. But the moment that ability deactivates, you can't remember what just happened. And not only can you not remember, but it, at this point, never happened. That's right, time gets erased. Maybe he should have used this ability on me, as I do not wish to remember this part of the series. Making for entertaining moments in part 5, like when Polnareff and Giorno used dripping blood to detect when time was skipped. Or okay, I really don't know what else. Now, diving into what I really wanted to talk about with this character, I feel that Diavolo was defeated in the wrong way. It felt more like Giorno's stand defeated him, rather than Giorno defeating him himself. I feel that villains should be defeated by the protagonist, or someone they have close ties to. As what I went over in the Kira video, the reason Kira worked was because he had close ties to the main character and every other character in the series, making the villain impactful. But to make the defeat impactful, it must be done by someone fitting. Yes, Giorno was the main reason Diavolo was beaten, but Giorno's stand went sentient and did a job that it wasn't tied closely to. I want to talk about how Diavolo could have been used to ask a moral question. What I mean by asking a moral question is basically punishing someone for something they didn't do. But if they don't get punished, things will continue happening, and people will continue getting hurt. I'll get to this all a little later, but speaking as someone who loves asking a moral question in series, I feel it could have been there. Or maybe it would have made things even more confusing, as I'd be muddying the waters at that point. But hey, this is all in dumb fun, I think. And now we run to a crossroads. I don't like the way he was killed, but narratively speaking, it was perfect. Well, nearly perfect. Now, I wish Diavolo was beaten by Giorno controlling the stand, and not the stand being sentient. It felt like it was just showing the sheer power these stands could emit, without taking into account the storytelling potential. Now, what I don't like here, I feel the death should be done by the protagonist or the nemesis of that character. It's like when Madara turned into Kaguya, and kind of ruined the ending of Naruto a little. Except here, it's not as bad. It's something that should have been done a little differently, like Giorno was the only one who can control a Requiem stand, or something like that. But that's an entirely different argument, and I'm not really talking about Giorno here. Let me put it in a way that explains my view. Jonathan didn't necessarily defeat Dio, but he did keep him subdued in that boat. They had these personal ties which made that impactful. Joseph's arm, which was cut off by Cars, came back to help him in the final fight. Joseph may not have been directly responsible for the defeat of Cars, but that arm, which came back to bite Cars after he had cut it off, was an impactful tie. Even though I do have my own problems with that fight, but the personal tie between Joseph and Cars is that Cars was too egotistical to actually win. Jotaro gained the time-stopping ability Dio originally possessed, and defeated Dio with that very ability which he nearly perfected. Jotaro gaining that ability was like him taking control and overpowering Dio, showing Dio that he too can be beaten. Jotaro has his mother's life in the balance, and Joseph's life was taken by Dio. That personal tie was what made this so interesting and amazing to watch. And while Josuke didn't defeat Kira, he was one of the many who were affected by Kira. And to see those stand alongside him when Kira was defeated was honestly a little nice to watch. Kira was then dragged to hell by the hands of those he wronged, so I feel it was a little different, but to each their own. But here I'm not the biggest fan. It felt like Giorno gained some sort of insane ability very coincidentally, which beat Diavolo. GER basically just showed up and said, hey, maybe I can help here, and took the moment for Giorno. For a better visual, I present to you.
Oh shit, it's locked.
What are we gonna do now?
I could probably help.
Jesus?
Yeah.
Like, imagine if Naruto didn't work for the Rasen Shuriken. Can you tell what my current obsession is? And he pulled it out with no foreshadowing or prior training. To me, what made him use the Rasen Shuriken so impactful was that it was an ability used by the 4th Hokage, one that Naruto himself was also known for using in the series. He made a more powerful version of that based off the 4th Hokage's ability or his father's ability. Or imagine if Deku pulled out all the abilities of One for All, out of nowhere, and used them all perfectly to a point where he would, quote, run the fade of All for One. Or if Goku just immediately used Mastered Ultra Instinct. It would feel incredibly forced, which is not how it should feel. I understand that the arrow was mentioned to have this and do this, but it should have been talked about and explained a lot earlier in the series. The ins and outs and why Diavolo wanted the arrow. It not only felt forced, but it felt like Giorno wasn't even the one responsible for Diavolo's death. Or Diavolo's defeat. Don't get me wrong, Part 5 is still entertaining, but the villain is somewhat lacking in Part 5 structure, which made it extremely hard to enjoy everything to the fullest. Now to talk about the narratively speaking of why Diavolo's death was so impactful, was that it was the one to actually make me think. Now yes, that's an amazing achievement. I don't really do that every day, but perhaps it was immoral and unjustified. But as said by Araki, it was the right death. Just because it didn't fit the crime, does that mean if it's the only way to stop them, should you or shouldn't you do it? It's like earlier when I spoke about wishing Diavolo's two minds had a moral spin on it. I love the death of this character because it allows you to question the morality and why of this. If you attempted to kill him, you'd ultimately fail, and more people would die. But if you use this Requiem, you would lock him into this infinite death loop. And while it's far too awful for what Diavolo did, it's like when you have people who cannot change or be changed no matter what happens. They will still be these awful, twisted people. You can try to stop them, but that won't work. While the morality is questionable and the death didn't fit the punishment, there's no other way. Fix the ones who can be fixed and kill those who can't. That's how Diavolo struck me. Now, not to say that I specifically believe in that system, but that's just how the death struck me. Diavolo helped me ask a moral question, and moral dilemmas are my kryptonite. I love what Diavolo forced me to ask. Is what he did immoral? Is the punishment justified? What else can we do? My name's Talon Talks, and that's how you make a great villain. Oh boy, this was so annoying to do. Like, I had to watch Part 5 twice. Like, all of Part 5 twice. Probably shouldn't do that. Should probably just pay attention to the villains and what they say and do. But, yeah. Diavolo is a character that I did not like to cover. But yeah, Diavolo might just be the only JoJo's villain that I do not like. Specifically because Part 5 is so confusing. And, well, when you're caught up on Part 5, and you try to pay attention to the villain, if it's too confusing, the audience probably won't get a lot, or just probably be confused by it. Kinda like me. Now again, Part 5 is extremely entertaining, and if you want to watch it, then watch it. But if this analysis seemed kind of wonky and out of place and just, at times, wrong, that's why. But yeah, I'll see you all in the Poochie video.